every Saturday. Local chefs create savory and artistic dishes for you to enjoy making in your own home. So add a new recipe to your collection that is sure to be a family favorite here at Scenic Vantage Point.
Welcome to What's Cooking at the Market. I'm your host, Steve Schroep from Port Huron Hospital, and we're here today at the Farmers Market at beautiful Vantage Point in Port Huron, Michigan, and we're here before a live audience. Thank you for joining us. My special guest today is Rock Stevens, owner of the Atrium Cafe and Ice Cream Parlor. Rock, welcome today. Great to have you here.
Thank you so much, Steve. My pleasure.
Now, before we get into the first dish you're going to prepare for us today, why don't you take a few minutes and tell us about the Atrium Cafe and Ice Cream Parlor?
I would love to do that. My wife and I opened the Atrium Cafe 2 years ago. We have just started our third year of operation. And I should tell you that this has been my wife's dream and passion all of our adult life together. And so through 40 years of marriage, I've always known this is what she wanted to do. And we finally realized it was just time to make this happen. In part because we're not getting any younger. So it was time to move on this, and we were so delighted to have this, this restaurant off and running. We are at the corner of Military and Griswold, right down the street. We've had the good fortune in our first 2 years of operation of being rated on a number of internet sites as the #1 restaurant in Port Huron. And so we thank all of you for your support and hope that we'll see you there again, and we can continue to tickle your taste buds and meet your culinary needs.
Well, fantastic.
Thank you.
Well, and hopefully during today's show we'll have more time to get into the Atrium Cafe and Ice Cream Parlor. Any restaurant that has the name Ice Cream Parlor in it, I'm there.
All right.
But it's very unique, and we do want to talk more about that. But you have a theme for today's program.
You know, my theme is that my wife has that uncanny ability wherever we travel, on vacation, and dine, she can taste food, mentally dissect what's in the food, and come home and nail it. And it's been her passion to bake and cook. And I've learned for it to be my passion to allow her to do that. Unfortunately, that means in my adult life, I've only had to cook maybe 3 meals. And of the 3 meals, she prepared everything for me, left me instructions. And the good news is of the 3 meals that I have prepared in my adult life, I only started a fire in our kitchen once. So I've kind of backed off on the cooking, let her do her thing. She is our morning cook at the restaurant, could not escape, so I'm here today in her place. But the theme is, folks, if I can do this as the world's greatest novice, having cooked 3 adult meals in my life, yeah, you can too. The bottom line is anybody can do this. And the beauty is no matter where you go, you can't go through a checkout at a local drugstore, you can't go through a checkout at the grocery store without being flooded with phenomenal cookbooks with luscious things that they can offer you. Now, a cookbook is going to take you through step by step. And as we do this morning, I want you to watch me because my sweetie, bless her heart, has prepared step by step for what we need to do. And my point is that if I can do this, certainly you can too. Now, before we even get started, I want to share with you something that I came across a while back that I thought was so pertinent to being a cook. And it goes something like this. We may live without poetry, without music, without art. We may live without conscience, without heart. We may live without friends. We may live without books. But civilized man cannot live without cooks. And my message to you today is that you can become a cook. And we want to learn to embellish the experience. So today what we have for you, we're going to start out, and it's kind of like 3 phases. We're going to start out with a black bean salad. And this is something that right here at the Farmers Market, we get most of the ingredients right here. Before we started this morning, I went down and did my shopping for the restaurant, for the cafe, and I do that twice a week. I love having the Farmers Market to be able to buy all this fresh produce so I can touch it, I can see it, I can look at it to make sure it's exactly worthy of our guests. And so much of what you see here today is material that we got just right down the alleyway.
And Rock, I was following right behind you, so I can attest to that.
Excellent. So what we're going to start with, and again, this is the black bean salad, okay? And I'm going to take 1 whole can of kernel corn. I'm going to dump that baby in here.
And Rock, if someone wanted to, they could actually get the fresh corn on the cob and
They certainly could.
Cut
And
it
we're
right
gonna
off.
we're gonna experiment with that a little bit later. But
Okay.
before I go any further, let me get my gloves on here. Okay, so we have 1 can of whole kernel corn. The next thing is going to be 1 can of black beans, hence black bean salad.
And again, if
Dump that in
someone
here.
wanted to be very industrious, they could get the dry beans, soak them overnight. And
Yeah, and the bottom line, folks, is we would encourage all of you, as you are cooking, you want to be creative. You want to invent things. You want to come up with new dishes. It has been suggested by Mark Twain that the greatest of all inventors of the world was accident. We stumble across things. And I have watched my wife take these great recipes from diners, restaurants that we've gone to. She'll taste it, know what's in it, come home and begin to duplicate it. But what I would see is over the next couple of months, she began to tweak it. And give her a few months, a few applications, and if anything, she's made it better than it was originally. And anybody can do that. You don't want to be afraid to be creative. Okay, so we have corn kernels, we have black beans. This is a 1/2 cup of diced green peppers. Okay, I'm going to pour that in there. Yummy.
And Rock, I had the opportunity of meeting your lovely wife, Gail, this week. And you did mention that she can take almost any ingredients and turn it into a wonderful dish.
Yes.
And I believe that.
It has been suggested that the way to a man's heart is through his tummy, and I can't emphasize that enough. Okay, she so has my attention, and the bottom line is what we'd like to share with you today is you want to learn to do the same thing. When we see folks come into our restaurant, they're not just coming for good food, and we're going to provide them good food, but they're coming for an experience. It's the ambience of the place. It's the service. It's all about paying attention to the little details to make this larger than life. And the bottom line is when people dine, they want to have an experience. We do that at the Atrium Cafe. You want to learn to begin doing that on the home front. And we can appreciate that your family is almost to some degree bored because it's the same thing over and over and over. And you want to learn to embellish what you're doing. This next item is 1/2 cup of diced, the diced red onions just went in. This is 1 tablespoon of dried cilantro, or you could use fresh chopped cilantro. So we're going to pour that in here. Okay, that's our fresh cilantro. Next thing is we have 1/2 to 1 cup, depends upon your preference, of salsa. And we're using a medium heat because we find that many of our guests can't tolerate something that is super spicy.
Now, Rock, is
we
this
try to moderate.
salsa made at the Atrium Cafe?
You know, some of the salsa that we have there, we do make it. And again, the advantage of cookbooks, they tell you what to do. Salsa, it has chopped tomatoes, fresh garlic, cilantro, lime juice, mild yellow peppers and jalapenos, onion and green pepper, and spices. And again, the bottom line is you want to be creative, you want to be flexible,
And if-
you want to experiment.
If you go on the internet, you'll see hundreds of recipes
yeah.
for varying salsas. So
It
you
is
can,
amazing.
you can be very creative with it.
Yes. When we talk about being adventurous, discovery, creating things, it has been suggested that the discovery of a new dish has brought more pleasure and happiness to humankind than the discovery of a new star. And when you think about the reference between those two happenings, a new star is far more significant in our universe. But does that bring us pleasure because somebody just identified a new star? Probably not. But when you find a new dish that lights your fire, oh my God. Our culinary habits mean that we are pretty much creatures of habit. And I'm aware of people who go back to the same restaurant over and over and over. And once they get there, they order the same dish over and over and over because we're such creatures of habit. And some of you can relate to that. I recall when my wife and I used to go to Florida, as we would on Easter and Christmas breaks, and we would stay at a campground close to Disney World. And every morning we would get up and go over to this restaurant that was right in the edge of the campground. And we're there for maybe 5 days, twice a year. And it was always a breakfast meal that we would get. And we'd been away for a year. We'd go back down there during the next vacation season. And as we walked in the restaurant, what we had was the waiter who usually waits on us spots us from across the restaurant. And from the other side of the restaurant, he says, "Hi, folks." We say hi back to him. And then he says, "Are you having your usual?" And I thought, son of a gun, are we that predictable? And yes, we were. So from that point on, I began to expand my culinary horizons and force myself to eat new things, and I've just discovered so many yummy things. And out of my tunnel vision, narrow-mindedness, I never would have been allowed myself to tolerate in the past. So this is all about trying new things. Now again, that last dish that I put in here was ranch dressing, and it's 1/2 to 3/4 cup. And we now have all of this in here, so we're just gonna mix this stuff up.
I think it's important to note that many of you in the viewing audience probably recognize Rock after his distinguished career as a teacher in the Port Huron area. And here we have him today teaching us again. I think it's very significant.
Talk about the blind leading the blind. And I want to thank all of you for tolerating my, my humble culinary skills here. But I have to admit, I owe it all to my sweetie. My sweetie has so pampered me, and I have the advantage now of watching her not just on the home front, but in our restaurant, running pretty much a great operation. And I'm seeing this happen on a daily basis, and I realize that we can all do this. I remember I telling my students at Port Huron High School, when they would have an obstacle in their life, I would suggest to them that we can send people to the moon and back. We can teach gorillas sign language to communicate with human beings. This little problem you have in front of you right now is a piece of cake. Of course we can do this. And we all want to develop that attitude. And so it is with this. You don't have to necessarily go to culinary arts school. We're going to bring the school to you at your local drugstore, your grocery store. Just take it home. Get it on the internet. There's phenomenal recipes that you're going to be able to discover.
And now, Rock, what are we going to do with the black bean salad that we've created here?
Now, one of the things that you can do is you can serve this as a side dish. And I think the advantage of using it as a side dish is that, again, it's all about the details. I think like a piece of bread is great. On the other hand, I think bread and butter is phenomenal. But when I add bread, butter, and maybe some really good jam or jelly, now it's an experience. And the dishes that you serve on the home front, this part right here is just a side dish, but it's very tasty if you like Southwest flavors. So this is a very simple way, all things that are easily accessible unto you, much of it right here at the farmer's market. You can put this together and you mix it all up and you now have a great tasting Southwest side dish.
And I can tell you it smells delicious.
Yeah, the aroma.
Yes.
I have a good time at our restaurant because as I walk around and greet our customers, I'm standing over their table and the aromas are coming up and I'm watching what they're eating. And that's how I decide what I'm having every night. I think of it as culinary plagiarism. That I'm stealing my ideas from them by listening to the oohs and ahs, smelling the aromas, and watching them enjoy the meal that they're having. And I still enjoy that aspect of my job.
And Rock, what are we going to put this on now?
Okay, now the bottom line is we've already created the side dish. What's going to happen is we've taken some wraps, and these are like spinach herb wraps.
Heart healthy.
Absolutely. And we put this mix inside. We've also added some chicken strips to it. So we have grilled chicken inside. And we're just going to be able to slice these guys down.
You know, and I think
you said you'd stand back if I was using the knife. Be careful here.
Yes, I'm watching. I'm being very careful here. But again, I think the point that this is very heart healthy. All the ingredients here at the market, supporting our local farmers, the local produce, and they're all out here today. So really encourage folks to come down to the farmers market.
I certainly would. And again, twice a week I'm down here. It's a ritual. The disappointing part of our life is we reach a point where it closes up the season. But this has been a wonderful way to get fresh produce. Something else I wanted to share with you. When we talk about the details and experimenting, being creative, you might have seen the commercials on TV where I think it's Reese's Candy Company, okay? They claim that one of the best things that ever happened to them was when they accidentally mixed chocolate and peanut butter. And from that point on, good things happen.
And we all love it.
Absolutely. You go to any sporting event now, and one of the things that we're now serving guests would be like maybe chips and cheese. That didn't even hit the market till the late 60s when that was brought into our culture. That means since time began, nobody in mainstream America ever had chips and cheese until somebody introduced it. And the bottom line is you want to go home and whatever your favorite spices are, your favorite side dishes, you want to start putting things together. And if you always do it the same way, for God's sakes, do it differently. Okay, be creative with it. Have some fun.
So, Rock, now you've created this black bean salad. We put it in this wrap with some chicken. We've made a Southwest chicken wrap.
Yes.
And what we're going to do is we have some samples for our live audience here. One of the advantages of coming down to the farmers market for what's cooking at the market. And we're going to take a short break right now. We're going to serve some samples to our guests here, and we'll be back after this short break.
All right, well, sounds good. Yeah. And thanks for your help.
Okay, you need to get your kids to eat more fruit. What a better way to do it than make it a little bit more fun and put it on a stick. So take your favorite fruit, cut it up, put it on a skewer. You can add a little bit of cheese on the end if you want to mix it up, but it'll maybe get them to eat their fruit a little bit more, having a little more fun. You can even cut it into shapes and just make it a little more interesting, and they'll be more likely to eat fruit. For more recipes, go to porthuronhospital.org/recipes.
Welcome back to What's Cooking at the Market. I'm your host, Steve Schroep from Port Huron Hospital, with my special guest, Rock Stevens, owner of the Atrium Cafe and Ice Cream Parlor. And Rock, in our first segment, you made this wonderful black bean salad, and then we put it in with some chicken and made a nice Southwest chicken wrap.
Yes.
And our live audience here today had an opportunity to sample that, and they thoroughly enjoyed it. What are we going to do the second segment here?
Well, what we're going to do is we're going to have some more fun. And the item that we're going to present is going to be, we're going to take the same basic item that we started with, the black bean salad, and we're going to add pasta to it, and we're going to create a Southwest pasta salad. Now, with the Southwest pasta salad, that can become a main dish, or again, it can become another side dish. But more and more, you'll see people using that as a main dish. So we're going to evolve, and we think of it as kind of a variation of a theme. And that's kind of what you want to learn to do. This doesn't have to be hard. It's using the exact same ingredients, and we're going to add some pasta and maybe a couple other things with it that we didn't add in our first dish, but it's very simplistic. And again, you'll recall from our first segment that my thought is that if I can do it, by God, anybody can do it.
Even I can do it.
I would hope so. And what? Well, no, you don't want to go yet. You want to see this, and you want to taste this. So the bottom line is, as you recall, we have the yummy black bean pasta salad here.
And it still smells great.
Yes, it does. And one of the things that I wanted to mention to you, and we talked about the farmer's market, I would certainly encourage as many of you as possible, you want to go down and sample their wares. And obviously, we've got sweet Michigan corn that is just delightful. Now, I was talking about, getting a full can of kernel corn. That's one option. You can go to your local grocery store and get that. Another, you can, right here at the farmer's market, get some delicious sweet corn.
Which may have been picked this morning.
There you
it's
go.
just that fresh.
And you're just going to take a knife and you're just going to shave off the kernels. Okay?
And
no
just to
big
let
deal.
you know, the farmers market is open every Tuesday and Saturday from 8 a.m. to 2 p.m. And again, local farmers, local produce, as I walked through it this morning, fresh fruit, vegetables, farm fresh eggs, honey, baked goods, you name it. It's a great experience down here. Bring the family, and what a gorgeous day here on the St. Clair River.
We're loving it.
We are loving it.
And again, I mentioned earlier that I'm down here twice a week, and you just can't beat it. You want fresh produce. So once you cut off the fresh kernel, you can just maybe kind of make sure that you break that all apart and add that to your dish. And I don't know about the rest of you, but I can't imagine better corn than Michigan sweet corn. I can make a meal out of this stuff. It's just so delightful.
It is the best. Yes.
So we're starting with that same dish, the black bean pasta, and again, it's got corn in it, as we just saw. We're going to start with that, and we have some new ingredients. Now we're going to add, basically, and again, I'm looking at my recipe here. We're going to be adding 1 box of cooked penny pasta, and I have a portion right here. I'm going to dump that right in there.
And Rock, when we're looking at heart healthy, I mean, you could add like a wheat pasta to it, so you get, the added nutrients and the bran, the grain, the fiber, right, from the wheat. And again, staying on the heart healthy track.
And again, that's the bottom line. You want to meet your needs, meet your family's needs, be as creative as you can, experiment. Don't always do it the same way. Again, experimentation is the mother of invention. Let's invent something new.
Yeah.
Now, we're also going to add some tomatoes this time. We did not do that with our first dish. And we've got like the cherry tomatoes, and we've sliced those in half. We're going to add that. And the bottom line, depending upon how much your family is a fan of tomatoes is going to determine how much you're going to put in. So that's certainly that's going to be left up to yourself.
You know,
And-
Rock, as
yes.
you work on that, sorry to interrupt, you know, I really want to talk, again, get some of the information about the Atrium Cafe and Ice Cream Parlor in here, about the decor and all the work that you put into it, making it what it is today.
All right. I would suggest to you that we have many of our guests coming in that will congratulate us on all the phenomenal workmanship that we did. And I thank them for that feedback, but I'll suggest to them that I felt like I was cutting and pasting. The real craftsmen were 130 years ago. And we used all salvage material throughout the restaurant. When we built the interior of the restaurant, I didn't have to buy any wood at all. The 4 homes that were in front of Port Huron Hospital, the old captain's houses, when they came down, we had permission to get in and salvage whatever we needed, and we did. We had an overabundance of material to work with, and some of the pieces are just phenomenal. We have 2 huge, like niches, mirrored niches that came from the bank in the entryway of the city of Chicago. And these things are like probably 160 years old, and they kind of dominate when you walk in. There's stained glass, there's bevel glass, there's wrought iron doors. The place just reeks of history. And it was our goal to make our restaurant personify Port Huron of old. And so we have surrounded the perimeter of the restaurant with postcards, photos, mementos from old Port Huron. And as a teacher, I realized that so many of my students today, they have no idea of the way Port Huron used to look. That's just gone. They can't relate to it. So we decided, it is our mission, when people walk in our restaurant, whether they're tourists, whether they're homegrown, we want people to get in touch with Port Huron back in the late 1800s. So the main dining room is high Victorian, late 1800s, and then you leave that room and you go into the Art Deco atrium room that's pretty much all glass, skylights, and you sit in theater seats from 1929, Art Deco theater seats as you're having your meals. We have the opportunity the second Thursday of every month to show silent movies in there, and we have a silent movie dinner theater. And like this past Thursday, I had to turn away another 18 people that wanted to show up because we had a packed house. We just couldn't accommodate everybody. It's becoming very entertaining for people. They're enjoying the experience.
And if you
Much
go there,
fun.
you can understand why. And now the next ingredient.
Okay,
that
the
we're
next
putting in?
ingredient, and there's not a lot of it here because we already had some earlier, but we have, what are those real hot things that people like?
I think it's those jalapeno peppers.
That's what it is.
Yeah.
We have diced up some jalapenos, and based upon your personal preference, it's going to determine how much you want to add. I'm going to add some of that in here. Okay, we'll make sure we get that out. And again, then we want to thoroughly mix this up.
And while you're doing that, I just want to tell our audience that if you Google the Atrium Cafe and Ice Cream Parlor, you'll see a number of websites there, but the Blue Water Area Convention and Visitor Center has a link on their website. It has a virtual tour of the cafe, and you can see all of the Victorian fixtures in there and so forth.
Yes. I want to share with you, it's a teacher thing, but the Greek philosopher Socrates once said that one should eat to live and not live to eat. Now that sounds pretty healthy sounding,
It
but
does.
the bottom line is, if you talk to most Americans and probably most people around the world, one of their most consistent pleasures of every day of their life is a good meal. And the bottom line is, it does give us pleasure. It's something we look forward to. That whole marriage thing, dating thing, whining and dining, okay? We embellish our loved ones with the opportunity to go out and dine. And folks, when folks come into our restaurant, I'll engage them in conversation and I'll suggest to them, this is not a fast food restaurant. If you're looking to get some really good food in maybe the next 12 minutes, you should probably go to a fast food restaurant. We have customers that come into our restaurant and literally, they'll have their meal and 3 hours later, they're still sitting there.
You know, I noticed that this week when I came in and had lunch, and I was thinking, there have been people they've been in here a lot longer than I have, and they didn't look like they were going anywhere.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And when even if we're having a delay in the kitchen, I'll suggest to them there might be a delay for whatever reason. I say, it doesn't matter. We're having a good time. We're enjoying the company. We're enjoying the ambience. And the bottom line is food is not just about the gut. It's about the mind. It's about the psyche. You want to embellish the moment. You want to have an experience. And so when you pick a place to go out and dine, whether it's by yourself or with other people, you want to appreciate everything that's there. You want to savor every morsel that you have if it's good food. Well, so it is with the ambience of a room. You want to look around, you want to get up and wander around, you want to see everything that is at the Atrium Cafe. And we have 3 distinct environments that you can explore. The ice cream parlor at the back, the main dining, the 1890s Victorian, or the 1920s Art Deco room. The new thing that we're doing is building a Victorian-style gazebo out in the gardens. And we were just informed by the city that our gardens have now been designated the Business Garden of the Year. So
Fantastic.
as a novice gardener, I'm just amazed how fast it's growing. I'm convinced that the 500 bulbs I put in the ground, half of them I put in upside down. Doesn't seem to matter.
Rock is
Took a
very
little
busy
longer.
at the restaurant. No question about that. Rock,
Okay.
what would our next steps be here?
Okay, what's going to happen is we have the pasta, Southwest pasta salad that we'd like to share with you. And as we take another break, we'll set this up over here on the table over here. And these are going to be in little cups. You'll recall the first time you had the wraps. Okay, hopefully you found those delightful and they met your taste buds. Now we're going to have, in cups, we're going to have a Southwest pasta salad that you're going to explore.
Wonderful.
And we'll have that set up on the table over here as we take a break.
We're going to end up with a whole meal.
I hope so. That's the idea.
That's great.
Well, thank you all so much for joining us today. We certainly appreciate your willingness to be here and putting up with this, I think, the world's greatest novice as a chef. And when they refer to me as Chef Sal, I'm thinking, you talking to me? Thank you all, folks.
And again, the theme being, if you can do it, anybody can do it.
Anybody can do it.
Yeah. Rock, thank you so much for
thank you,
joining us
Steve.
today.
Appreciate
and I
it.
really want to thank your lovely wife, Gail, for allowing you to come down here today, coming away. I'm sure she's going to put you to work when you go back.
Yes.
But Gail, thank you, and thank you for those wonderful recipes.
Thank you, sweetie.
There you go.
Mwah.
The recipes are available at www.porthuronhospital.org or at www.downtownporthuron.org. So you want to be able to check those things out. This program is going to air on Channel 6 this coming week, and it's also going to be on YouTube. And you can get to the YouTube link by going to the Port Huron Hospital website. So we make it very easy for you, and you can also see previous episodes of What's Cooking at the Market. Next week, you won't want to miss this. The host will be Sarah Tate, our major gift specialist at the hospital, and she will be here with Chef Nick from the Cavus Grill, and they're going to present a couple Greek dishes. They're going to prepare hummus and moussaka, so you will not want to miss that. So until next week, be healthy, and we'll see you right here at What's Cooking at the Market. Thank you.
And right over here is Amber Woods, one of our wait staff members. Thank you, Amber.
Rock, thank you so much. This is great. This is great.